the Finish Line. I am joined by Richmond Webb and Mr. Ballgame. We got a tons to discuss, including should the Miami Dolphins, should they be signing a controversial free agent if they are taking their run on the end of the schedule seriously? Plus, we got a game in Spain to discuss, and it looks like offensive line help is coming much quicker than some of us anticipated. Do me the favor, smash the like button, subscribe if you are new, and as always, let's get into this.
Loses the football. Touchdown! Got it! You have got to be kidding me. Jalen Waddle has a Dolphin touchdown. And he will score! Field down the near side, man open. Touchdown! The run from Tua Tagovailoa. Touchdown! He's going deep. It's not over the touchdown again! Beautiful day to be a Dolphin fan. Let's go!
All right, huddle up, huddle up. We're gonna crank these engines up on one. All right? Wait, set. Drivers, start your engines.
This is the Finish Line.
I coached a great offensive lineman in the past. Larry Little, Dwight Stevenson, Jim Langer, all Hall of Famers, and Richmond Webb belongs to that same group.
Here are your hosts, legendary Miami Dolphins left tackle Richmond Webb, Reason, and Mr. Ballgame.
What is good, Fin Nation? What's good? It's your boy Reason, and we are back here for another one. Appreciate each and every one of you guys coming through for tonight's episode. Do me the favor as you come through, please smash the like button. If you're new here, please go ahead and subscribe. Gentlemen, it's been, a few weeks now since we last came together, and a few things have happened. Chris Grier is no longer in a position of power in the Miami Dolphins. He's in the unemployment line. Jalen Phillips got traded, and he had a big showing out in his debut for the Philadelphia Eagles. And by golly, smack me in the face, smack me in the ass, either way, smack me silly, we beat the Buffalo Bills. So, Richmond, you were down at the game this weekend. Your thoughts on all those things, Grier being out, Phillips being traded, and your experience down at the Bills game?
Yeah, good evening, everyone. Happy to be back. Mr. Ballgame, Reason, all the people that's listening in. Chris Grier, I figured they was going to have to do something because the voice of the fans was getting louder and louder. And it was crying, and it was like a lot of people were ready to get off that roller coaster. I remember a few weeks back, we went up there. We had a good showing against Atlanta, and then we came back. And then the next game, I forgot who it was, but pitched up a rope again, and it was like the Atlanta game almost gave people hope. Hey, we can kind of turn this thing around or whatever. And then it's just kind of been like on a seesaw, and then. Trying to remember who we lost to, but anyway, Chris Grier, I figured, I knew him and the coach were on the hot seat. I kind of figured that wasn't a surprise. I was kind of surprised they went ahead and did it during the season, but I think that was just to calm the noise and say, okay, we got to do something to try to show people, it's good faith effort or whatever. So that one, I was like, okay, it didn't surprise me. I kind of surprised me at the time that they did it. And then it was good to be back down there this weekend. One of my former teammates, Keith Jackson, he had a fundraiser for his foundation. We went and participated in that. And then I was an honorary captain for the game on Sunday against Bills. And me and Duper were honorary captains, and we're sitting on the sideline, and McDaniel comes up, give us a fist pound, and he said, y'all can have a reason to hold y'all head high. I was like, okay. I say, I like the attitude, this and that. I didn't think I'll say it like this. I thought we could beat Buffalo, but I never thought it was going to be the way that it was and the way the game transpired from start to finish. It just never seemed like they was in it. But I knew we were capable of beating it, but I didn't think it was going to be a beat down like that. But whatever it was, pretty much all phases of it looked good. Offense, defense, special teams. So for me, it was a great game to go to kind of uplift spirits. And I think I even saw some on Twitter where it looked like Coach went down to it looked like it was South Beach, and a bunch of Bill fans was hanging out, and he was driving his Bentley and rolled by, and they say he was trolling them or whatever. But I said okay. But other than that, man, I'm just happy to be back, and hopefully we can kind of continue or at least show that type of effort for the rest of the season here on out. And I think that'll make the fan base feel a whole lot better. How you doing, Mr. Ballgame?
I'm good, brother. Glad to be back as well. Chris Grier, long overdue. Not gonna waste a whole lot of time talking about this guy. I think we done screamed and yelled and talked about him at nausea. So I'm glad they went ahead and pulled the trigger on that. As far as the game from Sunday, this is what I expected from them all along. But I just couldn't figure out and understand why they wasn't performing or doing any of these things. There was a whole bunch of games that we lost. We left and didn't show up for. And then, it's good to go ahead and get this monkey out there back, though, because Buffalo had been pretty much sunning us for quite a while now, and to be able to go out and beat them in the fashion we beat them in all three phases, that gives the group a lot of confidence, and hopefully they can just continue now at this point to win some more games throughout the rest of the year. I don't know, if they run the table maybe, but one game at a time type of thing. Jalen being gone, I thought, I don't know, I guess they didn't want to pay him. I don't know what the deal behind all of it is, but I'm glad that he's in a space where he was wanted. I knew Vic Fangio really, really, really likes him a lot. And I just wish him all the best. It's unfortunate that we couldn't get the best version of him in the time that he was with us, but I don't hate on players anymore, because I think sometimes mismatches or just relationships just don't work out, or guys get put in positions that just not most favorable for them, and that's the job of the staff, to find what a player can do and can't do and maximize that for the team. And did we do that with Phillips? I don't necessarily think we did, but nevertheless, wish him all the best. He's in the NFC, so not in the AFC, so we don't have to worry about him. Too much less we see him at the end, so that's a good thing. And then what was the other?
Grier's firing.
Oh, hey, long overdue. I knew that Ross likes Mike, and I think that if you look at it from a top-down perspective, the guy in charge of giving the coach what he has to work with, and you've been in that position consistently, that's been the one thing that you've never really quite mastered, was this roster. You got to kind of start there, and just kind of see if they can pull it all together. So wish him all the best, and whatever else he decides to do, but just stay away from football, because it's really not your thing. I don't think this is where he should have been in the first place, in my opinion. But I'm glad Ross didn't wait anymore. Just forget that lawsuit. We got to get some different energy around this place, and maybe this is just a kick in the butt they needed for him to prove that he's serious about changes, making changes. Because I know he got rid of 2 other people as well. So sometimes you have to send a message, and it's unfortunate, but we got to spark the fire in people for them to do their job. Then it is what it is.
Yeah, the other 2 guys he got rid of were the co-directors of player personnel, Adam Ingroff and Anthony Hunt. Now, the interesting thing here was Ingroff had been with the Dolphins for 26 years. Hunt had been with the Dolphins for 32 seasons. These guys were here for longer than Grier was. And
just holding
he
up
said,
spot.
Peace out. Because, I mean, if you look at the way everything is structured in Miami, right? These guys were, when it came to player personnel and how it's all, laid out with player personnel, I mean, these guys were only Marvin Allen was the assistant general manager, was really higher on the totem pole than these 2 guys. And then you get into, obviously, you get into Chris Grier, you get into Brandon Chore and stuff. But when you look at player personnel, only Marvin Allen was higher than these guys. And I'm actually, and I've said this before, I'm kind of shocked Marvin Allen didn't get it either, because, he's been around for the whole thing. He's the assistant general manager, but, obviously he's stuck around. So that's interesting. So where are you guys at now? Then let me ask you this. You guys have both said you both have said in your own ways that Mike was also on the hot seat. So let's start with you, Ballgame. Before the Bills game, I said I thought there was an 80% chance Mike McDaniel returns. Where are you at? Are you basically, have you come to terms with the fact he's probably going to be back in 2026?
Yeah, I do believe that, unfortunately, Ross is one of these guys that feels like if you change enough of the negative things or things that just weren't as impactful to help this guy, I mean, he's got to be cognizant of the fact that Mike's a little bit behind the curve in terms of coaching experience and things of that nature. So I think he's willing to give him a little bit longer of a leash to figure it out. But you just need more impactful people around him to be able to get the type of players and get things moving in the background, in the right direction so that he can be supported more. I don't fault. The only thing I fault the man for is potentially holding on to maybe calling the plays more than he should, instead of just learning being a coach first and then moving your way into that, or just trusting the people around you. But maybe Ross just figures, give him a better support system around him and see what he can do. So I didn't think at any point he was going to be fired in the season. I thought maybe they would bring him back for next year, and then we'd have to endure that. But, at this point now, beating the Bills changes a lot of the energy around the place. And, the questions become, if you can beat them and beat them the way you beat them, then what can we possibly do if you give this guy everything that he really needs to be successful? So, Grier not taking the full advantage of stocking this roster up the way it should have been stocked up, things of that nature, all contribute to Mike. They all contribute to Mike not being as successful as maybe Ross wants him to be. You can't put yourself in a position to not think that what Grier didn't directly affect what Mike was able to work with as well. So, they bringing that guy in Dolchik from, it's one of those things, like bringing in Dolchik from from Denver, right? He'd been out there with Denver, and then you let Tanner Conner go. Me personally, I don't think Tanner Conner should have ever made this roster. You feel me?
Yeah.
You're taking a wide receiver and trying to turn him into a tight end, a guy that's clearly never going to be committed to the blocking aspect. But that's something that Grier got in his mind, stuck there. I can get him to do it type of thing. Like sometimes guys are just hammers, and you trying to turn them into, what I'm saying? Maybe they're just a penny. Maybe they're just a 10-penny hammer, and you trying to turn them into a sledgehammer. You know what I mean? Like players are who they are, and that means that they need to do a better job of evaluating talent. But at the end of the day, it's like my guy said, I have to cook with the ingredients that I'm given.
Weaver.
You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So, and all of that falls right back into the lap of Chris Grier.
Well, I think players like Tanner Conner and stuff also fall in the lap of the coaching staff, because clearly they told Chris hey, we can make it work. You know, I mean, we've seen this. I
The
mean,
arrogance.
they drafted Hunter Long over Quinn Miners because Brian Flores wanted his alma mater.
Yeah.
You know, his Boston College alma mater. So I think coaches have I think the problem with him was, you're catering to too many coaches instead of standing your own ground. And then when you do stand your own ground, you take a guy like Cam Smith in the second round when Mike McDaniel is pounding the table for Devon Achane. Now, you ended up working out and getting Achane in the third, but clearly who was the better pick with the second round pick, right? It was Devon Achane, right? Richmond, where are you at with Mike McDaniel? You were down there at the game. You got to sense the team's energy. Do you think he's back next year?
I think he definitely has a chance. I think to me, I think it depends on how he finishes this last stretch of games. And I'm not saying he has to win all of them, but if they come out with that same type of energy and effort, I think that will definitely sway in his favor to say, hey, he does have the team there listening to him, this and that. And I thought Ballgame brought up the point about you got to deal with the hand you dealt, and like we said, hey, whatever you bring in, he's trying to make it work. I think the next GM, if I'm the next GM coming in, I'm sitting down with McDaniel. What's your vision? What's your offense? What do you think you need to address all that as far as offense, defense? I'm sitting down with the coordinators and all that, so we can all be on the same page. Because the better the communication, the better results I think we'll have. Because at least you can say, no, this is what you told me you needed. If you needed tight ends, if you needed offensive line, I brought you that. If you needed corners, I brought you that. So what type of corner you want? Physical corners? Do you want guys that, good in coverage? You got to have a conversation, take your notes, and then when you're going through the draft, okay, then you make priority and say, hey, okay, this is our most pressing need, and then go down there and then either fill through the draft or free agency. So I think communication is definitely going to have to be much better between the GM and the coaches to get a better understanding to achieve the type of players I think we need to run the offense and defense, and put players in a position like Ballgame said, Phillips, or even you said reason Phillips had a really good game. I watched him, and I figured he would. When you kind of know a player's skill set, put him in the best position to maximize that to get the best results you can. And I think that's what Philadelphia did with him. So I'm happy for him as well. But I think if they continue to come out and play with the same type of effort, and they don't have to win all the games, but I think if they come out like that, I think that will definitely help sway as far as McDaniel in his job.
Yeah, I mean, I've pretty much come to the conclusion that I think McDaniel is here for another year. I really don't see anything. I don't see anything changing. I mean, clearly, Ross made his choice, right? Ross made his choice, and that's just where we're at right now. So, it's obvious, and I mean that brings me, to Tua. Where are you guys at? I mean, clearly, one of the reasons why he's being brought back is Tua's under contract for 2026. Where are you guys at with drafting a quarterback? Are you guys down for drafting a quarterback in the first round, or are you guys down for taking one in the second, or where are you guys at with the quarterback situation? Because Tua Tagovailoa, it just looks like we're seeing the result of him not putting in the offseason work with Perform, with 3D QB. You're kind of seeing the result of it with him physically, but more mechanically. Mechanics have been a big issue with him, especially the footwork. And we're now into year 6. So that's been a big topic. Mike McDaniel was brought back. Do you think one of the reasons Mike McDaniel was brought back because Tua is going to be the starter, or would you guys be down to draft a quarterback and properly groom them behind Tua Tagovailoa instead of throwing them to the wolves like we've done with Tannehill, with Tua, et cetera, et cetera? Richmond, what do you think?
For me, that's a two-part question for me. For me, I think you would possibly draft a quarterback. I know we got yours and was it Wilson? but I think you need a legitimate quality backup quarterback. And the reason I say that is just because of Tua's injury history. So I think you definitely need to be working on development. I'm not saying you got to draft him in the first round, but get a decent quarterback in the second or third round, I would do that. If I'm Tua Tagovailoa, what I would do is I would go back to, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. And I'd sit down with the owner. I'll sit down with Mike McDaniel, and I'll sit down with the offense coordinator and say, hey, I need to get back with Nick to fix all these bad habits. You've seen the way I was playing before. You got to be honest with yourself. Evaluate yourself and say, I got a lot of bad habits that I typically didn't have. I'm going to be here anyway, but I need to be over there to be the best version of myself, not only for me, but for this football team. And I'm like, I really don't care about the off-season work. You know, sometimes you have a big boss or whatever to work. But I'm like, no, I need to be over there to be the best version I can be. And if I'm the best version I can be, that helps us, gives us a much better chance to win. So if I'm Tua, that's definitely the mindset that I'm taking. Like, look, I need to get back with this guy because I've had the most success when I've been working out, studying my mechanics, all that plays a vital role. And if I'm serious about being one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL, that's what I go and tell the owner. And even if he doesn't like it, I still got to do it, because if they decide to get rid of me after, say, next year or whatever, at least I've corrected the mechanical stuff that I noticed. Okay, y'all unload me, but I know I can play this game and I can play at a high level. I just got to stay healthy. But I got my mechanics fixed, and it makes you more attractable to other teams around the NFL. So that's the way I look at it, and that's the way I would go and approach this offseason.
I mean, Ballgame, I know talking about drafting a quarterback is one of the last things you like to do. But where are you at? Because something that Richmond said was very key there, that I think a lot of people, they need to remember. We are one, and I know every player is one hit away. I get that. But this guy's one concussion away from it's probably over. So especially if you continue to build this team out in the offseason with a new GM, and your plan is to continue to build it out through the draft, obviously, you got to have some kind of contingency plan, because what if we get our ducks in line next year and start off hot, and, you know, we've seen it before, what's happened when he gets hurt. Where are you at with the quarterback situation? Because Ballgame, what's really interesting about this year is, coming into this season, if I would have said to you guys, Tua is going to be healthy this year, you both would have probably said to me, okay, this team wins in 10 games.
Well, that's where we was at in terms of my...
Well, he's not healthy. He's healthy, and we ain't winning. Yeah. And some of those games in the final moments and final drives, he's throwing interceptions, and some of it's been by you know, at his hand. So we're at like this weird paradox with, he's actually healthy and he's not playing well. He's not playing as well as he has been, and he's not playing as well as we know he can. Where are you at with a quarterback in this draft?
Well, first of all, I think that every position, regardless of what the position is, needs to have a certain level of competition for that job. There shouldn't be any position on an NFL roster that a guy can just say, I got it covered. I ain't got nothing to worry about, type of thing. The lack of quality backups behind him has made him, I think, complacent to some degree. So when you start to see lapses in his regimented training that he was doing to get himself back into the game, and had some success when he threw for over 4,000 and whatnot, and mechanics was good. But at this point, when you don't have anybody really behind him that you know without a shadow can take the job from him, guys get lazy. You know what I mean? At the end of the day, they are humans, you know, man. And if everybody around you is telling you consistently how great you can be and what how good you was when you did it at the highest level, you start to believe your own hype. So I'm okay with them taking a quarterback if it's going to create and push him to be the best version of himself and get back to doing the things that made us want him and made us comfortable calling him and accepting him as our quarterback anyway, even after the Alabama injury. My thing always centers around, it's the most dependent position in football, and you're not going to be able to sustain yourself long term if your quarterback goes down. And all of the 10 people relying on this one guy, he gets knocked out, and the guy coming off the bench should have been over there doing changing tires at AutoZone or something. You feel me? Like, and this is the guy you got to rely on to take you to the promised land when all 10 other guys have actively been busting their ass to get to this point and winning games and blood, sweat, and tears, and then your quarterback go down, and then you got Joe Smo coming in and talking about to save the day. No. There's a way to build a roster. And this is a fault of Chris. This is another thing that lays at the foot of Chris Grier as well. Even if Tua had, missed those games previously before, there should have been a comparable backup that came in to be able to get us at least half and half. You want to go 500 with your backup. If you can get one over 500 in terms of the number of games a person missed, and you can get over, that's a good backup for you. That's a good situation to still keep you in contention. But we had nobody. You know what I mean? And that's another thing that's Grier got to sit and deal with. And at some point, those things matter more than anything else. So competition, I believe, is 100% what he needs now. He needs to get back over there with Nick. I know that they might not like Nick as much as possible. But he was dialed in when he was over there and being held accountable, for sure. And every man, I don't care who you are, at some point needs somebody that's not going to be a yes man.
Yeah.
You feel me? To tell you the truth about who you are and what you got going on, and I believe that Nick was that guy for him, simple and plain, and held him accountable, and he couldn't slouch off. He wasn't buying into the roses and all this other foolishness about how great you're going to be and all this other stuff. No, you get your butt to work.
Mm-hmm.
You're going to stay on top. You got to work to stay on top. It ain't gonna you don't just stay there just because. You got to work to stay there. So, yeah.
So I wanted to ask you guys this question. So in 2021, we started 1-7, right? In Brian Flores' final year. Yeah. We ended up finishing 9-8. Remember, we lost that game, winning, get in basically against the Titans before the Patriots, and we lost.
Yep. Last
year, we started off terribly, right? We started off 2-6, and we finished the season out 6-3. I got to ask you guys this, especially with this defense, looks like it's starting to come around right now, and it's starting to look like the defense we expected in week 1. And let's be real here. If we had this defense from week 1 that we've seen this past week,
games,
and we saw in the first half of the Ravens loss, this team would have beat the Patriots. They probably would have swept the Bills. They would have beat the Chargers, and they would not have blown that 17-point lead. To the Panthers. We would be 7-3 right now, probably. Sorry, 7-2 or 6-3. We'd be fighting for first in the division. But anyways, I digress. If this team is taking a run seriously here, and we're in a position, guys, if you're taking a run, guys, every point is going to matter. I know a bunch of us cringed, the last couple weeks at some of the kicks Riley Patterson has gone ahead and missed.
Yep.
If you are taking this serious, if you want to make a run, if you need all the help you can get, Justin Tucker just had his 10-game suspension lifted. We do not know when or if Jason Sanders is coming back this year.
Tucker it is.
And Tucker is a guy right now. You're talking about a career 88.6 field goal percent. Last year, he's 92.7 last year. Okay, you're talking about a guy who last year, 50-plus yards, 6 of 7. When have we had a guy from 50-plus yards who's 6 of 7, all right? Obviously, he came under fire earlier this year. He was accused of sexual misconduct and inappropriate behavior by 16 Baltimore area massage therapists. It was reported.
Hanging out with Deshaun, huh?
Yeah, hey. It was reported in October that several teams are interested in him. So it was reported just last month that Justin Tucker has multiple suitors. He has a legitimate market, man. I've got to know, if you are taking this run seriously, if you really want to turn this around, you need a sure bet when it comes to points. I'll start with you, Richmond, because we already know where Ballgame's leading. I'll start with you, Richmond. Do you bring in the body oil, the massage tables, And that leg, that's much more powerful and much more consistent than what we have in Riley Patterson. Because Richmond, imagine if you would have had that missed field goal a couple weeks ago, and that ends up being the game. You know, like, with Patterson, where are you sitting with this?
Well, I think the biggest thing is it's not a question of talent and all that. His record speaks for itself. His consistency, like you said, overall his career 88%. That's, you can basically say 9 out of 10 he's hitting. And I think you got to be, if you're gonna bring him in, you got to be able to withstand, because you're gonna get pushback from the media, especially with the like you say, the sexual whatever they accuse him of and this and that. And I think he'll be fine. And I think most of the time, I say in sports a lot of times, you can be accused of something, but if you start winning, a lot of times people are more forgiving and their memory gets shorter if they focus on that. But reason you brought up a great point is most games a lot of times are decided between 3 and 4 points. So if you make that field goal, a lot of times that can be the difference in, winning the game or losing the game. And I'm of the way I think is you got to give it all. You got to bust your ass and play as hard as you can to try to win as many games you can. You build on what you did with the Bills. I don't think you say, we're not taking this serious. I would lose respect if a coach said, hey guys, we just gonna go through the motions and do this. I was like, that's not how most athletes are built, to just say, hey, we're gonna just lay down and just, don't worry about it, guys. Y'all gonna be fine. I don't know many athletes that's built that way, and I don't truthfully I don't know many coaches that are built that way, unless it's a decision from the top to say, hey, this is what I want. We want to move up for draft pick. But I think if you're gonna go for it, you got to give yourself the best chance possible. And like you said, based on, it's not a hard decision if you look at the statistics of both kickers. You got to at least bring him in and say, hey, yeah, if we're gonna try to win, do this, it's not.
Well,
hard,
let me give you a perfect example, Richmond. Everyone thinks the Chargers are probably going to the playoffs this year, right? Right? Everyone thinks the Chargers are probably going to the playoffs. We lost 29-27, right, to the Chargers? Now, we sat here and we said the defense, right? Okay. Remind me, did Riley Patterson not miss a field goal that game?
Yep. And that's 1 point. That's how you need to win.
That's 3 points. That's the game. Yep. We win by 1 point. And that's a playoff team. And I'm just sitting here. Imagine, guys, just think about this. Imagine we're against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, okay? We got to win out the schedule. We've won everything up until then. And this guy misses an extra point or a field goal. I'm just saying, you want to put yourself in a position, if you're going to make this run, the best chance possible. And I know for a fact, because he works out in the Baltimore area, he's been, he's staying in shape. What are your thoughts, Ballgame? Because Richmond's right. The media and fans would not be happy about this move. But, I mean, he's a much more sure bet than Riley Patterson if you're going to get into big moments where crucial kicks are needed.
Hey, at the end of the day, bro, convicted, accused, and all this other stuff, none of that shit don't mean nothing to me, man, until you actually stand in front of a court and they hit your ass with the sentence. There's a whole bunch of people can be accused of a lot of different things, but you got to prove that he did it. It is what it is, and that could happen with anybody in the NFL. We're talking about what's going to push this team and get them to the next phase. And I listen, if it's true that he did it, I'm compassionate, and I feel like they should throw the book at him and hit him across the head and beat it, do what's necessary according to the law. But that's not my job, right? Somebody else's job to convict him of those crimes if he did them. Allegations are allegations until they are founded and the person is found to be guilty of it. So, the NFL already suspended him, right? They feel that they deeming bringing him back is a good move on their part. Who am I to say anything else other than that? Because they're the ones that pay him. They're the ones that he has. They're his prime employer, and they're saying without a shadow of a doubt that he can come back to play. So let the man play. If something else comes out in the works, then it is what it is. It's not my job. It's not my job to pass judgment on this man. A court of law would do that, But in terms of winning these football games, he got Hall of Famer. He a Hall of Famer kick. Hall of Fame.
Oh
kicker.
yeah. Oh yeah.
So I'm not at any point going to pick Patterson over that if I can get Justin Tucker.
Well, we got something recent to base this off too. Do you guys remember when the Buffalo Bills a couple years ago drafted the punt god Matt Araiza out of San Diego State?
Yeah, exactly.
The allegations came to light. They released him the next day, right?
Mm-hmm.
He ended up getting cleared from the allegations because, like Ballgame said, Justin Tucker, he's not facing any time. He is not, he's not been convicted of anything like Matt Araiza. The Kansas City Chiefs then went ahead and signed Matt Araiza in February of 2024, right? Well, guess what? He ended up being an alternate on the Pro Bowl last year. He was the Pro Bowl alternate last year. Punter was Matt Araiza. To Ballgame's point about Justin Tucker, you're talking about a 7-time Pro Bowler and 5-time All-Pro. He ranks 4th all-time, guys, in field goal percentage. And he's 14th in field goals ever. I mean, I'm just saying, if we want to make a run here and we're serious about this, all hands on deck is what I'm saying. You know what I mean? Because, guys, we are in a position right now, gentlemen, where your margin for error is 0. 0. You've already lost 7 games. One more game, and the best you can do is 9-8. Good luck making the playoffs 9-8. You're going to need a lot of help, right? Like, your margin of error is 0. You need to equip this team as best as you can because you clearly weren't ready to sell them all off after you traded Jalen Phillips. You let Chubb hang around. You let Judon hang around. Rasul Douglas. You let all these players hang around because you thought the coming out was what? They wanted to give Mike the best. They still wanted to give him a chance to finish this season out strong. Okay, well, now you've just beat the Bills, and you've basically got an influx of a lot of hope and a lot of belief, not only in the fan base, but in that locker room after that dominant of a win, because it's not like you just snuck it out. You handed them their ass. And now, if there is that, and we've seen them in 2021, and there's still players on this team from the 2021 team that start off 1-7 and went 8-1 in the last 9. So there's guys that have a history of being able to perform like that. Like I said, you got a margin of error of 0. You got to give yourself the best chance to not have any errors. And I think Tucker over Patterson. Yeah, Tucker over Patterson to me is a no-brainer, man. Now, I do get the fearfulness. You're going to bring a guy with these allegations down to Miami. Are you crazy? You know,
Reason,
like,
man, you know what reason we even considered bringing
Deshaun Watson here.
Yeah. And you know what's funny, Richmond? Because you've been in the NFL, okay? You know, like, I want to talk to you about this, like, this whole situation here. So Neil's really plugged into a lot of people in Baltimore. And, you know, like his son, like, plays sports with Tucker's son and stuff. Like, anyways, he said it's been known around Baltimore for quite some time about how much he frequents the parlors, all right? And his wife has known about it. It's been out there for a long time in circles. Deshaun Watson, Richmond, that just didn't come out of nowhere. We can all agree that these teams have what we call cleaners, right? To clean up stories and to clean this stuff all up. So my point is, if teams, if it was known in circles and in communities in Baltimore about Justin Tucker, the team clearly knew. Doesn't that mean other NFL teams more than likely knew?
Yeah, and I guess I add this to the point. You talking about Tucker and you talking about Deshaun Watson. Like you say, these are high caliber players at their position. They're not just somebody is 50 guys on the team. They're number 49.
You ain't talking about no peons.
No jabronis here. Yeah.
So, and I'm not guilty of nothing, but I'm saying when it came out, I don't. It would be hard for me to believe that nobody didn't know about what was going on. Yeah.
The number one, the 53rd guy on your roster is not going to get the same treatment as the number 1 and number 2 guy on your roster.
Yeah, it's true.
For a guy that's won you games consistently for decades. You know what I'm saying? It's different.
Yeah.
It's definitely different. Yeah.
So
Yeah. So my whole point was, if all the other teams know, and we know there's a bunch of teams that have been interested since October, fans need to basically put their morals aside, because these teams aren't going to have morals when it comes to winning games.
No.
That's what it's the NFL. Morals go out the window. If you haven't been watching what's been happening in baseball and basketball recently, morals go out the window, all right? All right, so a big one here, guys. Austin Jackson is been only a few hours ago has been designated to return off of IR. Austin Jackson potentially coming back. Let's start with you, Richmond. How big of a shot in the arm, especially for a team that's coming off a big win against Buffalo? If you can handle your business against the Commanders, how big of a shot in the arm could it be getting one of your bookend tackles back? Like we said, when you're getting to an area where you got zero margin for error if you want to make a run here.
Yeah, it's not. I think the thing is, as long as he's ready to come back, and I wouldn't say he's rushing because it was the ankle or whatever. He's been out for a while. As long as he can come back and finish, it's definitely an upgrade at the right tackle position. And we talked about this before the season. Patrick Paul and Austin Jackson. You got two tackles that, if they're both playing at a high level, you got probably one of the top 3 tackle combinations in the NFL when you kind of combine both of them like that. So it would definitely be an upgrade. It'd be an upgrade not only in the passing game, but in the running game, and it just makes everything easier. As athletic as Austin Jackson is, for him to be a right tackle, maybe some things that Mike McDaniel wanted to do in the running game that, maybe the right tackle is limited, but if you can get him back, it makes a huge grade at that position. So it's a no-brainer for me. I think the thing is,
you froze up
for the Dolphins, especially for the offense, and we definitely need him. I will say that.
Where are you at with Austin Jackson returning? Ballgame?
I think it's a good shot into what they've been already doing. You feel me? You get a guy back if he's ready to go. I think he's better than the guy that's there currently right now, and that's all improvements. We can take all the improvements we can get if they're going to really make this run. So I'm just kind of disappointed that he's missed as many games as he has. But I can definitely understand not coming back until you 100% can assume the role and take on that comes with that. So I need him to be a little more durable. But I'm glad to hear he's coming back. You know what I'm saying? For Tua's sake too. You feel me? Because that's the blind side. That's his real blind side. And hell, I'd rather him be there than the guy that's there right now, because they got to do all sorts of creative stuff to keep guys off of him. You know what I'm saying, at this point. But at least Austin can hold his own a little bit. So yeah,
Would you be looking, like we were talking about Tua in the draft earlier? Is Austin Jackson a player you'd be looking to actively replace in the draft too? Because every year it seems we're doing the same song and dance, and it's not like we're getting Terron Armstead levels of all-pro play. We're getting a guy who's hurt more than Tua, and you're getting inconsistent play.
Yeah, you kind of have to. When you look at the history, you look at the number of games that he's missing, all those different things, you have to kind of take that in consideration and have your backup plan. And in fact, that's the reason why they went. They knew that Terron wasn't going to be around much longer, so that's when they went and got Patrick Paul. I think he's going to be a stud. I think he's going to be a stud for us for years to come. So, yeah, just do the other thing on the other side. It ain't personal. It's business. You know what I mean? Even if you do go get a guy and then you allow Austin to come back and see what he's got, have a guy in the wing already ready to go. You can't ever have enough quality players to protect your quarterback. That's always been my thought process. Do what you got to do to ensure that without a shadow of doubt that you can compete week in and week out. It ain't about feelings. It's about results. And you're not going to ever get there unless you got guys that can actually hold and shoulder up the load of what you really need, so your quarterback can be the best version of himself. Because if your quarterback running for his life every game, how effective is the offense really going to be?
Where are you at, Richmond? Are you down to draft a guy? Like I've been saying, if you're not going to draft a quarterback, I would have been down for Spencer Fano, the right tackle out of Utah, or Francis Moigoa, the right tackle out of Miami, because I've just been kind of sick of this. This guy's just, you can't depend on him, and now James Daniels, but that's a different story. Are you down to look at a tackle to try and replace Austin Jackson? Also, Richmond, what have been your thoughts of Jonas Savaianaya? You think he's getting better?
Yeah, I watched him. I didn't pay attention to all the game, but I thought he played pretty decent on Sunday. I didn't see all of it because just talking to former players and stuff like that. But I think they're sticking with him, and I think he's figuring it out. I think he's getting better. But I think Ballgame hit on it when he was talking about Tua. You got to bring in guys as far as what we need. We need depth, and so if this guy is injured all the time, you got to bring guys that it's got to be competitive enough that if you get hurt, you got to wonder when you do come back, will I have my start position? You know what I'm saying? So that's one of the things that's hurt the Dolphins. Like you said, even with Daniels, is bringing in some quality depth, build this offensive line the right way, especially when you got a guy like Achane that's been just balls to the wall. I mean, he's having a hell of a year, but if you fix that, if Tua gets back with Nick and fix that, and then you surround him with a true offensive line, and then you got some depth in the event that somebody goes down, and you can plug a guy in and you keep rolling like you hadn't missed a step. That's huge, and I think that's when we can take that next step. So I definitely will be looking to continue to improve this offensive line.
Mm-hmm.
All right, boys. The Miami Dolphins, they have an international game we all got to get up at. I mean, well, we're getting up for what, 9:30. You got to get up for what, 8:30 there, Richmond. They got an international game in Spain. What are your thoughts heading into this Ballgame? I wanted to pick your brain about something. I brought it up this week, and I don't think enough people are making a deal about it. I know the Commanders are playing bad football right now, but I think they made a move that might give them a little bit of a shot in the arm. Dan Quinn announced he's taking over defensive play calling duties this week. What are your thoughts on the matchup this week? It'll be Mariota, obviously, no Jaden Daniels. What are your thoughts on this matchup against the Commanders?
Well, I'm always leery when we got to deal with a guy quarterbacks that are athletic. Let's be clear about that. But I think the way that they went about attacking Josh is very much similar to what they need to do against Mariota. I don't think much needs to change other than they just need to stick to alignment and assignment and ensure that they continue to crash the pocket in the middle so that he has to be forced to get off of his, get off of his setup points and realign and redefine and find his targets. If they can consistently do that, I think he'll fold through some, after some point. Now, Dan Quinn taking over duties over on that other side, though, that's different because, he like to send pressure, and I'm hoping that we can hold up to that. They will do that. They will make sure that what their defensive line can't do, they'll incorporate their safeties and their cornerbacks to come with that extra guy off the edge to make sure that your quarterback got to get it out quick. But, I'm sure and hoping. Well, I'm hoping that we've planned for that. But as far as I'm not really afraid of Mariota. You know what I'm saying? I think we have enough to contain them. Now, if Jaden was back there, that'd be different. He's clearly a better athlete, but his unfortunate incident and accident that he had that's got him out with his arm and whatnot. That might have been just a blessing in disguise because I was worried about that game. I thought him healthy would give us fits. But Mariota can do some things, but he's just limited now at this point. He's an older version of himself, and I'm not really afraid of him. If those guys, like I said, they come out like they did last week, the defense should dominate yet again. So,
what are your thoughts on this game, Richmond?
Yeah, I thought about. I agree with Ballgame. I think if we come out with the same attitude and intensity we did last week, I think we'll be fine. I think this is the second head coach that have decided to take over play calling. Dan Campbell did it with Detroit maybe last, but it was offense, and they definitely got much better results. And I think even when Ballgame talks about McDaniel, I think he wants him to be the head coach, learn how to do that. But in the event that you take it over, you still have that capability to help out your offensive coordinator because that's where your strength is. It's like Dan Quinn. If your defensive coordinator is struggling, hey, let me come in there, let me help you, and see if we can get this thing corrected to keep rolling. So I think it's a winnable game. Like you said, we are playing against Mariota, not Jaden Daniels. Like he said, he's athletic. He's a true dual threat quarterback. He's got a nice arm. He can throw the ball as well as, escape the pocket and this and that. But I thought the defense did a hell of a job of containing Josh last week. As far as every time he got ready to break the pocket, they made sure-handed tackles rather than, not only we swap at him and miss him and he run 15 yards down to keep the drives going. We actually played, good, solid, fundamental defense, making really good tackles. So if we continue to do that, we should be fine and just build off what we did last week. So they come up with that same intensity and a good game plan, offensively and defensively. I think we should be fine.
Yeah, and part of that good game plan should be a repeat of what we saw this last week where two only threw the ball 31 times. They had 30 designed runs and two with scrambles. I mean, that's the key. It's always been since he came out of Alabama, 20 to 28 times throwing the football, and he's never been this dropping back 40 times, treat him like Dan Marino. He's always been a rhythmic quarterback whose basically game is predicated off the run. So I do want to take the time and I want to shout out the sponsor of today's video. That, of course, is Sleeper. Listen, if you think you know football, well, the NFL season is here, and that means you now have a chance to 1,000 times your cash on daily fantasy football. Football has never been more exciting than it is now with players like Devon Achane, Lamar Jackson, Jackson Dart when he's healthy, Justin Jefferson, and so many more. Pick on stats for these stars like touchdowns, passing yards, receiving yards, fantasy points, and more for up to 1,000 times payout on Sleeper. Get your picks right, and you could win big. Use promo code PHINSIDE, and you'll get up to a $100 match on your first deposit. Terms and conditions do apply. See Sleeper's terms of use for details. And if you sign up right now, no deposit required. Use code PHINSIDE, and you will get a free $20 deposited into your account for you to use. Score predictions and final thoughts, gentlemen?
Go ahead, Ballgame.
Yeah, I'm gonna say I'm gonna say 31-17. Us obviously. I just don't think the defense is gonna give up a lot, but playing on the road and being in not sleeping in their own beds and stuff like that nature, even though they already over there now at this point, that stuff matters too. But I think overall they'll dial in enough to be able to get this one done. So I'm gonna say 31-17.
I'll say 27-20, 27-21. I think it's, like I said, I think it's a winnable game if we come up with that same effort and don't turn the ball over and don't beat ourselves and force turnovers like we did this last game. I think it's a winnable game. So I'll go 27-21 Dolphins.
Yeah, I mean, I think we got a damn good chance to win this game. That's for sure. So guys, do me the favor, smash the like button. If you're new, go ahead and subscribe. I'm going to get out of here. I will be back tomorrow. I got a show that we'll be doing in the day. So make sure you guys are locked in tomorrow, probably around lunchtime. So be on the lookout for that. All right, guys? Do me the favor, smash the like button. Like I said, subscribe if you are new. And as always, we'll see you on the next one.
On the next one.
All right. Fins up.